Hello everyone, it's Tenitsu here, and you might notice some different editing in this. I'm just way too tired to do some good editing. But anyways, today we'll be getting into part 7 of What If Naruto Was No Otsutsuki. For part 8, the like goal will be 15 likes as always, but without further ado, let's just get straight into part 7. Also, channel memberships are another thing, so if you want to support me and the channel, be sure to join. Now, as always, we'll start this video off with a quick recap. In the last part, Naruto finally returned to the Leaf Village and met everyone again. Naruto then went to the Hokage office with Hinata, where he found Kakashi, and they did the second round of the bell test before moving on to the sand to retrieve Gaara. In the sand, Naruto battled Deidara, while Hinata battled Sasori, with both of them winning their fights. Then Gaara was revived, and they headed back. Now back on the Tenchi Bridge mission, and the fight with Orochimaru will soon begin. Now Naruto stood on the bridge as he clenched his fist so tightly that blood began to spurt out a little. But it was so quick, as it was healed instantly, with steam coming out of it as orange chakra enveloped his hand, as suddenly Naruto flew toward Orochimaru, with his fist covered in an orange coat of chakra, with the rest of his body normal. When the punch connected with Orochimaru's face, the ground underneath him was completely destroyed, as Orochimaru was flung into the forest, completely destroying a part of it. Don't ever mention Sasuke's name again. I don't want to hear it out of your foul mouth. Naruto said, performing a few handstands as he fired a water release, great waterfall technique, and he expelled an immense amount of water out of his mouth, which flew at Orochimaru so fast he wasn't even able to dodge. The water jutsu was so gigantic Naruto concentrated, it was able to destroy a good part of the forest, as Naruto was absolutely pissed. But even now, Naruto wasn't even close to using his full power, but it was hard not to. The bluish-white chakra was the only thing stopping him from completely losing his cool and killing Orochimaru, just completely destroying him. Still, Orochimaru was absolutely taken apart by this jutsu. As the jutsu slowly stopped, Orochimaru popped his head out of the water, desperate for a breath of fresh air, but Naruto just stood in front of him and smiled, before punching him right in the face, sending him flying once more, crashing into the ground, leaving a small crater there. As Orochimaru lay there, he felt a strong gust of wind, only to see it was Naruto, who was now right above him, but Orochimaru had enough. As the punch was flying at him, he turned into a snake and was able to get away in the brink of time. And when Orochimaru looked back, he was glad to have dodged this attack, as the area of effect of that single punch was so massive he still felt its shockwave from there. Back where Naruto was, all the energy around him dispersed as he walked back to his team, scratching the back of his neck a little. I think I overdid it a little, but when he saw the faces of his comrades, he knew he had really done so, as everyone looked at him as if they had never truly seen what he was. But then they realized something. Sai was no longer amongst them. It turns out Sai had approached Orochimaru about perhaps forming an alliance with Danzo after the former left, and that all goes the same as in canon. When Naruto asks where Sai is, Kakashi replies with, I'm not sure, but I know someone who is. Kakashi performed the summoning jutsu as a dog appeared in front of them, and, as it turns out, Kakashi had left a small dog after every one of them, in case they were in danger, so the small dog, who was with Sai, was able to reveal his location. So they ran quickly, as they could. There, as if what the dog was said was true, they could see Sasuke again there. When they arrived at the hideout, they searched through the rooms until finding a large open area, and on its wall stood Sasuke Uchiha, looking upon them as he suddenly blitzed toward Naruto. But Naruto didn't even dodge, as seeing Sasuke again wasn't at all what he had expected. He had hoped that Sasuke would just come back to the Leaf with them, but Sasuke wasn't going to do that now. He will kill Itachi, and then he'll return to the Leaf. Maybe. As Sasuke blitzed toward him, Naruto just stood still, as he thought Sasuke wanted to attack him. However, the latter just stood in front of him and asked, So, have you become the Hokage yet? But Naruto answered with seeming bags under his eyes, No. No one as pitiful as me could ever become the Hokage. Someone who can't even save a single friend. Please, just come back to the village, Sasuke. Sasuke scoffed at Naruto as he jumped back up again. He couldn't believe how weak-minded Naruto, his one and true rival, had become. In his eyes, Naruto might have just become more powerful, but he was inferior to the Naruto back then. That Naruto went through everything just to have a try to get him back, and when that didn't work, he fought him with everything he had. But now look at him. This Naruto was a weak imitation of the old one. Sasuke scoffed again, as he disappeared alongside Orochimaru with his last words to Naruto being weak. After all of this happened, the team finally went back to the Leaf Village. As now Naruto has very little to do, in these two arcs, so all I will say about them is that Naruto still develops the Rasen Shuriken, kills Kakuzu, etc. But as that all happens the exact same, we'll just get into the more interesting stuff. As Naruto got back from the fight with Kakuzu, he finally felt like he had achieved something. He had failed to bring back Sasuke. He was able to get Gaara back, but only that. But even then, he had still needed help, really saving him. He failed to kill Orochimaru, and once again failed to bring Sasuke back. Overall, his life was only failures right now. But now it was starting to look up. He'll definitely bring Sasuke back. As Naruto walked through the village, it seemed he had an extra spring in his step until suddenly being called to the Hokage office. Naruto thought he was going to be congratulated on his new victory, but that wasn't going to be the case. Not at all. As Naruto entered the room, it seemed to have a very gloomy atmosphere, which confused him. I mean, he had just done something great. In front of him, a small toad began to speak. You are the Naruto boy, correct? Naruto nodded, and the toad paused for a second before continuing. There's some important info I have for you. Jiraiya boy has perished in battle. Naruto still smiled as he laughed and said, Ha! Good job, old toad. Jiraiya would never die. That was a good joke. Naruto still smiled as he laughed and said, I'm still laughing, of course, saying, You really have a good sense of humor. But he didn't see a single laughing face, so slowly his face dropped. Right? But the toad stayed silent. Suddenly, the entire village began to shake. Every single house, every street, everything in the entire village shook so hard that people were falling over all over the place. Who? Who killed him? The toad replied, Pain. Where is he? I will personally see to it that he is eliminated. Everyone in the room was filled with fear as Naruto's eyes turned blood red with three Tomoe, but suddenly they transformed. As he closed his eyes because of a sharp pain in them, he slowly opened them only to reveal instead of Tomoe, the Sharingan had a spiral within it. It seemed Naruto had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, but Naruto didn't care as he just stood there as the toad explained all about the secret message. As Naruto was a lot smarter and in general faster in the head in this, he was still easily able to figure out some clues to solving it, unlike the original. He had read all of the makeout tactic books for when he got back with Hinata, when he got back to the village not too long ago, so it was still clear in his head and he also knew how Jiraiya wrote his ta, which the others thought was a 9. Told them this, then quickly left. Going back to his home, Naruto just lay down on his bed, not having the energy to do anything. He wanted Jiraiya back, but he was dead. He'd never forgive pain. As Naruto was laying there, Shikamaru came to visit, and after having him meet the now pregnant Kurenai, told him to get his crap together so they can become the ninjas their sensei once were and surpass them. The next few days Naruto spent were full of hardcore training. Naruto did everything he could think of, and pushed his body to the very limit. After finishing a very hard day of training, Naruto sat down to eat some ramen, as he wanted to treat himself a little, but then he was reverse summoned to Mount Miyaboku, leaving only a note from the old toad named Fukusaku, explaining that Naruto will be gone for a few weeks to master Sage Mode to defeat pain once and for all, and to master, say, a different power. So he would be preparing him for that. Now the training for Sage Mode began, but before this happened, Naruto was brought in front of the Master Toads and had a toad stuffed down his throat, which is absolutely disgusting. But let's move on. Naruto was first tasked with mastering Sage Oil's enhanced Sage Mode, which wasn't that difficult. Naruto was a prodigy in this type of training, and with the Otsutsuki bonus, it was nothing. But there was some mental fortitude required, not for the training, but for the food he had to eat there. Caterpillars, grasshoppers. Oh god, it was also disgusting, so why doesn't it taste that bad? The next days went on with him having mastered Sage Oil Enhanced Sage Mode, but had been very many close calls, with him almost succumbing to the massive power of Nature Chakra, which can, if you have not mastered it, turn you into the animal you're learning this type of Sage Mode from. In this case, it turned into a toad, which would also turn into stone. After Naruto mastered Sage Oil Enhanced Sage Mode, Fukasaku explained why Naruto couldn't just use this against pain. Sage oil is a natural oil which disappears outside of Mount Miyaboku, so taking it with you could be foolish, and then began to explain all about actual Sage Mode and how to control it, which made Naruto's head spin so much information, but he'd do his best to master it. The days began with him eating a well-balanced breakfast of a caterpillar and 4 grasshoppers, then training began. First there was a normal meditation training where he would often get hit on the head by Fukasaku, sorry about that, which would reset the natural energy in his body, but it would also hurt like crazy. After this meditation, he would do some balance training on top of a very spiky mountain, where if you made even the tiniest wrong move, you would fall down. But Fukasaku always caught Naruto with his tongue before he fell, which ghosted Naruto a little, but after having to eat bugs the entire day, he already saw it as a common occurrence. But for now, we'll skip ahead to when Naruto finishes training for Sage Mode. As Naruto fully completed his training, he left three clones behind for Sage Mode training, as he really needed a backup supply of nature energy. As Naruto heard what was going on in Konoha, he clenched his fist as he was reverse summoned back, making his entrance, staring right at Pain, whispering, "I'll kill you." Now, I hope you enjoyed this part of the What If. Sorry for me talking so fast. It's just kind of a mistake, I guess. If you did, be sure to, if you did like the video, be sure to hit that like button. But without further ado, this was Tenitsu, and I am out.